from where I sit, there's three answers to this. And I want to know which one resonates more with Commissioner Pernetti. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode on the College Underdogs YouTube channel. I'm your host, Trey Smith. We are the one-stop shop for G5 mid-major football. If you're a fan of the Group of Five or just underdogs in general. All right, sometimes there's underdogs in some of the power conferences as well. We don't talk about them as much on this channel, but as the season plays out, who knows? Our main focus is on what we know as the Group of Five, and might be Group of Six soon, who knows? But today I want to get into what my key questions are heading into AAC Media Days, most specifically for Tim Pernetti. Maybe Monday when I'm there on site, I'll talk about some questions that I think every team should have to answer come Tuesday, which is the actual press conference and all that good stuff. But I want to talk about a couple key questions that I hope get answered. I hope to, one, be able to ask, and if not, like I think they should be. They're questions that I have. And then I got a little update for you on the old College Football 25. Saw some of y'all commenting on the last video. So again, I'll save that for the end because I know that's not relevant to everybody watching or listening. So we'll talk about that as well. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment at the end, share it with a friend. And let me know your thoughts on everything I'm about to say, because today I'm about to talk about really the American Conference's stance right now on realignment. I think that's my first question. My first question, as American Conference Media Days are upon us, is Commissioner Pernetti, what is your stance on realignment? I would, if I happen to get the mic and have a chance to ask, that's not how I would phrase it, but that's just the short form of it. You know, we have to duck and dodge the way we frame those questions because legally these commissioners and coaches, like, they can't comment on the general landscape and they can't comment on what's happening with other teams who might be leaving conferences, Here's the bottom line. Here's what we know. Florida State and Clemson are unhappy with the ACC. They are aggressively trying to get out of the ACC. We also know that the PAC conference is potentially going to be looking to rebuild their conference as well, and they're going to look to G5. They're going to look to the Mountain West, and they're going to look to the American. We've got shows on this channel over the past couple weeks commenting on all that. So the bottom line is it's happening. So let's quit acting like we got to talk around it. We're not going to speak on things. No, I want to know, what is Commissioner Pernetti's mindset and approach as the leader of the AAC to realignment? And I think it's fair to ask, again, if I'm the one that's going to be able to visit with them, I'm working on that. If I'm going to be even potentially get them on the channel, I'm going to think through the best way to frame the question so that it's not just so, hey, what are you doing about realignment? But for the show and the podcast and us just talking amongst ourselves, it's evident that Memphis right now has put out there, I don't know if they put out there their media, I don't know how that all transpired. I know it was a public Freedom of Rights Information Act, public records request. It came out that their AD, Memphis's AD, will be incentivized, I think, $250,000 if he's able to get the program into the Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10, or the SEC. And I'm sure that type of incentive is in Tulane's and USF's and other programs in the conference. And so my question is, okay, what is your approach knowing that there are teams currently looking to get out of the conference, right? I know Commissioner Oresco, he was very big on trying to create the P6 and the Power 6 and fighting tooth and nail to keep all teams in. And then talked as if things were going to get really aggressive when the SEC, it was announced that the Texas and OU were going to be joining the SEC, and oh man, now it's time to pounce on the Big 12 because they're sitting ducks. Well, we see what happened with them. They ended up taking away, some of the heartbeat of the AAC. Anyways, so from where I sit, there's 3 answers to this. And I want to know which one resonates more with Commissioner Pernetti. The first thing is you follow similar to what Oresco did, and you just try to keep these teams happy. You try to negotiate higher media deals. He's referenced private equity. You look at ways to access money in spaces that is unorthodox for college athletics in order to generate more revenue and more funding for the programs in your conference. And you fight tooth and nail to keep them in. You hope that whatever happens with the ACC doesn't fall apart so severely that they begin looking to the G5 for expansion. I don't think that's going to happen personally. I know there's a lot of people that disagree. I think the ACC loses Florida State and Clemson. They're probably likely to just stand pat with what they have. But if more of that conference starts to break away, now they may be put in a position where it would make sense for them to go after a Memphis or a Tulane or a, USF, whoever. Also, you've got the Pac conference. If they're going to rebuild that conference and it's just going to be another G5, it doesn't make sense to me for teams in the southeastern region of the country to join a conference with a bunch of teams in the West Coast when you're not going to get power conference funding from a media partner. Now, could you make sense of, is there a path where that conference, that best of the rest conference that we've talked about, could command a strong enough media deal to where it would make sense, not just for the teams to get a bigger payday, but also for the teams? You have to make sure it's not just more money, but it's got to be enough money to also cover the travel expenses. But anyways, the bottom line is option number 1 is you fight tooth and nail to keep your conference intact. And you go whatever unorthodox path you have to do to figure that out. So that's what I think would be option 1. Option 2, you have a short list ready, knowing that, okay, I've got some programs here at the top of my conference that are aggressively looking to get out. With the way the landscape's shifting, it's possible that they could find a new conference landing spot. So do you have a short list? Do you have a list of teams that you're going to be looking to invite to join the American? Where would you look? That's what I want to talk about. So the first place I think fans are going to want to look is the Sun Belt. Now, I know if you're a Sun Belt fan watching this, you're going to say, well, no, the Sun Belt's the best G5 conference. And I'm not going to disagree with you necessarily. I think we'll do another show where I actually did sort of I don't know the word I'm looking for, but I took a bunch of different numbers and statistics to rank who the toughest G5 conference is. I did it, I think, in October during the season. I'll probably do another one this upcoming season, but most Sun Belt fans watching this will say, well, the Sun Belt's the top conference. No one wants to leave the Sun Belt for the AAC. And you're speaking mainly from a competitive standpoint. However, the media deal that is in place right now with the American Conference versus the Sun Belt Conference is light years ahead. So it would actually make sense for a Sun Belt team to join the AAC because that media distribution they would get in time would be much more significant than what they're currently getting. Here's the challenge with adding a Sun Belt team to the American is it's a shared media partner. So it's like, why would ESPN want to pay more for Appalachian State than what they're currently paying? Even though App State gets great viewership, even though App State is a competitive team, even though App State is a team that I think this year has a potential to knock on the doors at the college football playoff, they'll upset Power 5 programs. From ESPN's perspective, okay, so if we move them over here, we're going to end up we're paying twice as much for them, if not more, by letting them join this conference. Even though it's technically not ESPN that lets them or doesn't let them, they do control that. So the shared media partner, I think, is what makes things difficult with the AAC pulling from the Sun Belt. FCS. So maybe there's some FCS programs out there. I don't think that the American Conference is the appropriate landing spot for an FCS program. I think if an FCS program is going to make that jump from FCS to FBS, probably should follow suit with some of these other teams we're seeing and go the Conference USA route with the Sam Houston States. I know we've got Delaware, Missouri State getting ready to join as well. I mean, the only exception really to me is if a team like North Dakota State, you get a program like that, yeah, you send them an invite if interested. But another thing to remember with the FCS FBS move is that fee has just gone from $5,000 to $5 million. So then, of course, you could look towards the MAC. And I'm not turning this episode into potential expansion partners, but there are a couple teams in the MAC that I think could enhance the AAC. You could look to the Mountain West Conference, but that's only if the Mountain West Conference gets gutted by the PAC. So then there might be some, and that's again probably a separate episode, but what if the PAC conference takes the top tier of the Mountain West and the Mountain West is left with, their mid-bottom tier teams? Could those mid-tier teams, if there's enough of them, look to build out a Western wing for the American Conference? I don't know. I'm just saying if he has a short list, I would be thinking this is the way you'd have to think about that. And then finally, the one is the Conference USA. Now, remember the Conference USA signed a grant of rights, I think, last year around this time. And in order to leave the conference, they'd have to pay $800,000 per year that's still left on their 5-year deal. The only team I really see even considering that and being able to do that without any kind of concerns is Liberty. So that's option 2. So option 1 is you're trying to keep them happy. You're hoping that the power conferences, we don't have any more moving and shaking at the power conference level to where they're not looking to expand. You're hoping that the PAC can't command a strong enough media deal to land those teams. Option 2 is you have your short list ready, but who's on that short list? Right? Talked about Sunbelt, talked about all that. And then I guess the third and final option is, and I think as an American Conference football fan, this isn't a bad idea. So again, we're talking as if teams like Memphis or Tulane or USF or a combination of the three were to leave, okay, and go to another conference. At this point, the third option to me is you just double down your investment on teams that are left. And then hope that as you double down on your investment into the existing programs and as that sort of increased financial resources take root, you could start to see some teams rise to the occasion to reach that level of the teams that have recently departed. Could we see a UNT rise to what Houston was while they were in their final years in the AAC before they jumped ship to the Big 12, right? Could we see UTSA become what Cincy was? Could we see FAU become what UCF was? Could we see these programs rise to that occasion with the increased amount of resources? I think what obviously makes it much more difficult now than I don't know, over the past decade, as we saw the Houstons and the UCFs, who were Conference USA teams, as they got the level of resources and made the commitments they made to become who they now are. What's different now is that programs really are going to survive on the money they're able to raise outside of what the conference distributions are. And that's really what this thing seems like it's going to boil down to, is which programs can bring in enough money outside of their media distributions. And again, whether that's private equity, whether that's, boosters, whether that's, the NIL collectives, whatever it is, But I would think that if you increased, what you're investing into UNT, UTSA, UAB, FAU, I think those 4 programs can become high quality G5 programs. Not saying they aren't already, but I think even more than what they currently are. And we could see them sort of evolve into the next versions of those teams that left. And I don't mean to leave Temple out. They've just been down. They've got to figure it out, because I still think that's a place that can be a winner. And then really the only other question I'd like to ask is the future of the Army-Navy game. Is it foreseeable that when it's current, I know there's some red tape around that game and the media agreement, but once that runs its course, is it feasible to think that could become a conference game in the future? And would having that as a conference game that is, I don't know if this is the right word, but owned by the American Conference, what does that do to the American Conference's package it could potentially present to media suitors? So how much does that increase the value of the conference's media package it has to offer to the ESPNs and the Fox Sports and the CBSs if that game were to become a conference game? So my first question is it feasible to think that could become a conference game in the future? And then if yes, what would that do to the media value of the conference to potential media partners? So let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Let me know what questions you have. I'm going to be there Monday. And Monday is kind of more of a informal type of day. I'll see if I can get any, on the record type conversations going. Most of it's more just, meeting, mingling, talking to players, talking to coaches, stuff like that, but nothing really on the record. And then Tuesday is when it's full shebang. And I guess I shouldn't say that. Monday, there's some already of that. Last year they had, the Sirius XM, they had Dave Campbell's Texas Magazine. There were a couple of established platforms that were in this room that the players were sort of rotating between. I'm going to see what I can do this year, but let me know if you have any questions. And, yeah, that's it. I know I said I was going to give an update. I guess I'll give you a quick update on my college football 25 dynasty. So I told you I was getting ready to blow it up and start over now that I had the hang of it. I'm in the groove. I started as a OC at Tulsa. In year 2, I led Tulsa to the CFP, where we lost to Texas in the Cotton Bowl. After that, I was offered by Utah and Arkansas. And if you know me, you know Arkansas is a big part of my heart. Utah and Arkansas offered me their OC jobs. I took the Arkansas job, and I'm currently in year 1 at Arkansas, using Alabama's playbook, recruiter archetype, trying to get the motivator one to pair with it. And so whenever I'm able to get back on that and make some more progress, I will let you know. But as always, thank you for watching. I will see y'all next week. I'll be live and direct from AAC Media Days. Trey Smith, College Underdogs, signing off.